Hello to all my friends out there. So this video is how I can immediately raise my standard of living. How I can live better without spending any more money than I already do, really. People used to ask me how I did it, and I've spent 5 years, showing people how I do it. But I think it would be good because I have new followers to go over how to raise your standard of living, how to live better starting right now. Okay, everybody has to eat. Number one is food. If you get a basic diet, and if you go back to my videos 5 years ago, it was buy meat, potatoes, or rice, or sweet potatoes and vegetables. Make bread, make gravy, powdered milk, canned fruit, all the things you've seen me do. But if you stockpile that food, then if you start getting low on money, you have food. I have all kinds of food. In fact, I was torturing myself all day long, packing my food up. So one of the things you can do is you can go through your kitchen, and chances are you already have a stockpile, and you can take stock of what you have, and that is your stockpile. If you have very, very little food, you would go to a food bank, you would go to a food pantry, you would go to a church, and you would start working little by little on a stockpile. Maybe you would only buy a package of cornbread for 49 cents, but then if you run out of bread, you can make your cornbread in a pie pan, or maybe a package of crackers. Anyway, so you would start the stockpile thing. Okay, water. Bottled water, not tap water. I can refill my bottled water for 20 cents out here. Okay, 3, gas. Okay, I can stay in my house and I can not go anywhere, and I can spend no money on gas. Otherwise, I can just go where I need to go, but be mindful of the money I'm spending on gas, because gas is supposed to go up. So, a person with a lot of money has to eat. A person with a lot of money has to have nutritious, good, clean water, and they have to have gas. Usually they drive a nicer car, but basically that car is getting you from point A to point B, and you need gas. House. Okay, if you take a rich person and you put that person in, say, an apartment, even in a terrible area, they will start living exactly like they do in their mansion in the apartment, and they won't stay in the apartment for long. Okay, now, it doesn't matter where you live. That really doesn't have that much to do with your standard of living. What you need is a dwelling so you can come home after work, or somewhere where you can live. So one thing you can do, and you will notice that people with money, absence of clutter. Okay, in my kind of work, I buy things and I sell those things, and it creates clutter, and it makes me very, very miserable. But I just think of those 50 pairs of jeans as 50 $20 bills, and that makes it better. But generally, you're going to be way more comfortable if you don't have a lot of clutter. Does that mean you should, what some people do, which is in my opinion a huge mistake, is they start just donate everything to the thrift store? I think it would be much better to sell it and then use the money. Okay, clean. If you have a absence of clutter, and if your house is clean, that right there is going to raise your standard of living. I mean clean. It's not that hard to do. I have cleaned hellacious messes in a matter of days. All you do is you just start on one area and you clean it, and you just clean little by little. As for the absence of clutter, you have to control the clutter. One way you can control the clutter is you can secure it all in all the like items. I used to keep my son's massive amount of toys in refrigerator boxes. Yes, I spoiled him, and in his bedroom I cut 2 refrigerator boxes, and I kept the toys in the refrigerator boxes. And my friend said, "Ruthie, that's horrible. Why don't you give those toys to the poor kids?" I said, "Hazel, we are the poor kids. If they choose to buy beer and cigarettes and, that's their problem. I buy toys." Which, is what I did. How I justified that is I said, he's not going to be a kid forever. And, he likes his robots. I used to buy every kind of robot. I mean, I was awful. So one way you can control your clutter is you can keep it in big containers, or you can keep it in one place. So, absence of clutter, clean, all right. Generally, your house is going to be cleaner if there's no pets in your house. Sometimes I have pets. I don't have any now. And so some people goes, "My pets is cleaner than most people." And that is really true. I mean, I've worked in places where I'm sure pets are cleaner. No toxins. Okay, that means once you get used to doing this, when you go somewhere and the Windex and the bleach and everything is out, you can smell it because you're in an area with no toxins. Where you have bad odors, that's where you have germs. So, okay, no trash. And this is going to make your place a whole lot cleaner. Just taking out the trash and doing the dishes, or if you're lax in doing the dishes, eating on paper plates. Okay, what I have been doing is the feng shui. Nothing broken, soiled, or damaged. Okay, the stuff doesn't have to be in totally perfect condition, but as long as it's generally in repair, things aren't broken, laying around that you can't use. And if they are, you have to get a new one or repair it. It doesn't have to be, but in the overall scheme of things, the damaged thing is going to impede the function of your dwelling. Now, me, I don't live in my home much because I'm never here except to sleep. Okay, clothes. Okay, are clothes really giving you a higher standard of living? Really, as long as your clothes are clean and good repair, they're serving their function the same as someone who might be in some very, very expensive clothes. Of course, they look a lot nicer, but their general standard of living is no higher. I used to work in places with scrimpers, and I would know that I was living at a higher standard of living, and I could never figure out why, but it goes back to these things we're talking about. Okay, so let's go on. So, one thing I don't buy used, sometimes I buy used clothes, is used shoes. So what I did, what I like to do is when I need shoes, I will shop for quite a while, and I will buy myself a $50 or $60 pair of shoes for between $14 and $20 instead of, and then I'll wear them until they're, shut. Okay, now, the temperature of your home. This is one of the things, when I worked with the scrimpers. When I would come home, I would turn the air on and I would turn the heat on because the environments I worked with were full of toxic chemical smells, full of really repulsive odors. They were cold, they were hot, and when they went home, they lived the same way. Go back here. They didn't buy a stockpile of food. I guarantee you on that. Did they drink bottled water? Possible. Okay, for gas. A lot of times, the people I worked with would drive out of town a lot. And those out-of-town trips cost money. Okay, and then for the house, just go on down through all of these things. Mainly what your house is providing is a place for you to like watch TV, eat your meals, and sleep. So let's say if you live in a better area that you can't really afford, you're basically doing the same thing in your house that I am. And then as far as clothes, we already went through that. They don't really lend anything to your standard of living. Really nice houses can, though, if you can afford them. But if you can't afford them, that's not a good idea. So now, if we knew that the grand solar minimum was coming, we know it's coming. So what we have to do is start preparing for icy cold weather. So now, if you're cheap all the time, if you don't buy anything that doesn't really lend to your standard of living anymore, like if I had a lot of money and I went down to, let's say Fashion Valley because I really like it, and I spent all kinds of money shopping, I would get all kinds of nice stuff, but it really wouldn't help my standard of living, not really. I would love it, however. Okay, so now, if, I watch all kinds of budget shows, right? Let's say one day per week, you didn't spend any money. So you would be saving approximately 14% that one particular day. But let's say you were incredibly cheap every single day and you stockpile food. So on Friday, you're supposed to go buy food, fill your gas fill your tank full of gas, and save some money, right? But if you fill your water for 20 cents and you find some passable meals that are not miserably cheap, you're mindful of your gas and you take good care of your car. You're not going to have to, spend a lot of money on your car and in your house, and your clothes. So, so if on each and every day that you did this, you were saving 14% of the week. If you did it for a month, you'd be saving 14% of the month. But what if every single day, all you were really doing is working or whatever you do, coming home and eating a meal, maybe watching a little TV, you have a clean, dry place to sleep. This would be pretty much every day because you would be spending very little money every single day. And so then do you have to get an involved budget? No, because look how pretty my plants are. And, I bought this stuff cheap at a thrift store and I can sell it when I am done with it. So this is how you can raise your standard of living. If you live in an area that you really can't afford, if you lease a car because you really can't get approved, if you don't have any credit, if you don't have any money, there's just going to be no getting ahead until you really realize your standard of living has a lot to do with the food you eat. Let's say if I was going to have some meat and some rice and some peas, that is a protein, a carb, and a vegetable, a canned vegetable. You could have frozen. But let's say all of a sudden, I go out for a very expensive meal. Here's what I'm going to get. I'm going to get a meat, I'm going to get a carb, and I'm going to get some vegetables. And so then what you can think about is, okay, maybe frozen vegetables are a little nicer than canned. Maybe fresh are a little nicer than frozen. Okay, maybe I can mark down meat that's a little bit better quality than the cheap meat, but actually, meat is the flesh of an animal. Some of it is a little bit better quality. So, you can think of ways, how can I get a better quality of meat? And then you have rice. Say jasmine rice is a bit better than just Dollar Tree rice. Potatoes, if you have instant potatoes, and you decide, I want to go as close as I can here and maybe eat some chorizo and some eggs with some cinnamon toast. That's a really good combination. Maybe I stockpile some evaporated milk, and I might want to drink a hot chocolate, which would be a high protein drink, and just start thinking, okay, how can I try to get here without making life god awful? Because in the end, let's say in the end, you're scrimping and you're saving, maybe you're saving $5 extra at the expense of your right now. That is not really, really smart. A lot of these people, how to make money. Once you get, I think it was $60,000, a person with a whole lot of significantly more amount of money than you is not living that much better because of what we just been discussing. Okay, if I live in an apartment and you live in a mansion, we're still just living there. So start thinking about that, and this is my chat, and thinking about some of the stuff. If like one of the things I was doing, and this was very painful, but it's over now. I was going through clothes that I bought all year long, deciding which clothes were going on eBay and which clothes were going to be sold at the swap meet. When I sell this stuff at the swap meet, what I try to do is I try to double my money. So if I pay $1, I want to get that dollar back, and then I want to earn $2. So I want to sell the stuff at as close to $3 as I can. I'm still not going to totally double my money because I have to pay to get into the swap meet. But what I sell at the swap meet is basically a bunch of junk that has accumulated. So it's going to lend me a little extra money. And what I usually do is on the way home from the swap meet, I swing by 99-cent only, and I usually buy about $30 worth of food. And so then, the last thing I need is food, really. But I know, I was online all year because when I work at home, I watch videos. I watch videos on Agenda 21, now Agenda 30. That's the solar minimum that's going on 10 years, 11 years, and on Agenda 30, it will have been going on 10 years. I watch videos on the alien invasion, and possibly there are some, but I don't think they're invading. Okay, we know China has problems. You know, all kinds of these things. The weather is going to affect us. So one of the things that you can do is right here, stockpile. And these are two of the things you can do. Right here, figure out where you have to go. And then right here, control your temperature. And then right here, each day that you can come as close to spending nothing. Now, I can sit in my house all day long. I can turn all the lights off. I can turn all the utilities off at the breaker switch because I live in California. And in a day, I could get right here. But am I going to do that? No, because then we're going back to I'm a scrimper. And why is it that I'm not significantly better off than, say, me in the long run? Because of this. So once you really get that in your mind, that's how you can really start raising your standard of living. And you don't need someone telling you, do this, do that, do this, because it's a way of life. And naturally, you're going to have a higher standard of living. You're going to have a house full of food. You're not going to have to go every Friday after you get paid, if it's 2 weeks, and do away with, food money. You're going to be mindful of your gas, so you're only spending as much gas as you need to get places, a little bit. Just watch out what you're doing. So this, and I think, it really kind of makes sense if you really are honest and you really think about it. Like, I just did a video, a couple of days, or maybe it was yesterday, about going out to eat and spending $10 and what you can buy for $10, and can you justify eating out and not buying these items I showed you for $10. But if you were to go out, say, and buy a small lunch like a $1 sandwich and a Coke, or you were to go and buy yourself a Costco ice cream, it's not really going to affect your standard of living, but it is going to affect your standard of well-being, and ultimately, you're going to be much better off than a scrimper. I know, because I used to work with them, and I never could figure it out. Why was it? Well, the reason it was is because I was coming closer here each and every day, especially on the Friday payday day, because I wasn't having to buy groceries. And another thing is, your stockpile is going to protect you in the event that these solar minimums really kick in and wreak a lot of havoc with the crops. They already were. They already did. They've done all kinds of things, sending the cattle to slaughter 200 pounds lighter, feeding the cattle cheaper feed, so they can keep their profits up. So, okay, you guys, and this makes sense, what I'm saying to you, if you think about it. And I'm going to be doing more videos, and God bless you all.